Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and hello again from Australia. My name's Andrew Seabrook. We're here for the third iteration, the third report from Will Taylor over in the US. And it's been a hot day here. Well, not quite as hot as yesterday. The weather gods have been really good to us. It's actually cooled down considerably. It's sitting around 25 degrees, but it is bucketing down outside as well in short bursts, so it's quite humid here. So whilst it's cool down here, the action for Will has heated up, hasn't it, Will?
Yeah, it certainly has. And of course, I'm here in Dallas, Texas, which talking about the weather cooling down in Melbourne, it is cooling even more down here in Dallas because we're currently in about -3 at the moment tonight, but of course it was 0 degrees in Fort Woth where I was today. Of course, I took a tour at TCU because we'll have a look at the women's basketball game between TCU and West Virginia very shortly.
And it's been a very long day for you, and it's going to get longer because you're off tomorrow to Nashville, and you have to leave in about 5 hours' time, don't you?
I do. Of course, I'll go from here to Nashville via Houston. It's going to be a very early morning flight, which means I'll get to Nashville about 10 o'clock local time. Of course, the two time differences between Dallas and Nashville is the same because they're both in the central time zone. So, so in regards to time zones, it really doesn't really matter. But it's more, I guess, the transit I'm going to get when I'm in Houston. And, of course, the weather, which just doesn't look pretty good at all for Nashville, I'll put it that way. I looked at the weather forecast just a moment ago.
So tell us about today. Tell us how you went over in Fort Worth.
Yes, I was there half an hour ago over in Fort Worth. Of course, that's a half an hour drive from downtown Dallas. And I went to TCU, Texas Christian University, and I had a big tour around at the campus there in Fort Worth. Got to see, I guess, what most people don't see when they come to the game. So I went to the exercise area, the gym, the stadium itself, and went to the football side of thing, and also the press box, which I know there's some photos that I took a little bit early, which was most viewers would have seen behind you throughout the show so far. But I must admit, when I went to the football stadium in particular, there in Fort Worth, they're mentioning that obviously they actually asked me about what the capacity is of the MCG. And they said, and I obviously mentioned what the capacity is at the MCG. The interesting fact about that is that the MCG is the only venue that is not a college venue that holds more people in as capacity-wise around the world. So it's actually quite interesting to hear that. It's currently sitting 3 behind 7 other colleges here in the US that holds more than any other stadium around the world.
So we might have a quick look at some of the images there from the inside the stadium there itself. This is the basketball stadium, so I'll just pause that. So if we just go back to the beginning, that's their jumbotron. So not too many basketball stadiums in Australia have their own jumbotron. Kudos Arena and up in Sydney, Hisense.
That's pretty much it, isn't it?
And no, the Adelaide, the
Titanium Security Arena.
Yes, I was going to say the Home Dome, the Clipsal Powerhouse, the whatever it's called at the moment. But Titanium Arena, yep, there's that. Oh, and Perth, and of course Perth's got it there. So there's perhaps
Perth Arena.
Of the major arenas, there's probably only 6 or 7 of these jumbotrons around the place. So that's quite impressive that this is a university gym with all of that. And they're not the only one, of course. So what was our next?
And it's actually the smallest gym in their conference of the Big 12. So, and that holds around probably 7,000 people. So actually, West Virginia is actually the biggest.
Well, there you go. So here's some interior shots there. We might just pull it up full screen, I think. We'll just go full screen on that. So there's the
there's the Jumbotron.
And there's the interior. Oops.
I think I did a panorama view of it as well, which our listeners can see. Of course, that's actually just outside.
Well, that'll be on. They can have a look at it on Facebook there. So there's the interior. We've got another shot of the interior as well. Looks
that's West
like
Virginia.
That. Yeah.
Training in the background, shoot around.
Yeah.
So.
And that's about it. So this was obviously some of the footage. I think this is towards the end of the game here, isn't it?
I think it was third quarter. I didn't take any in the last quarter, so I think that was about the third quarter when. Second quarter, I should say. That's the second quarter, and actually that free throw put them in front.
Right.
In that game. So. I might as well talk a bit about the game itself.
Absolutely.
So TCU took on West Virginia because West Virginia is ranked number 9 in the country at the moment. And, of course, this is the Big 12, the first round of the conference season. It was one of the most amazing games to watch. Now, both teams had injury problems going into it, more so for West Virginia because they still haven't got their best player back from injury. Of course, she was training, but she didn't play. So they were playing short-handed in that game. Final score was West Virginia 87, TCU 82. The record now for West Virginia is 13-0 overall, but because they go by conference, that's their first win. And TCU 9-3. Ella Hellesy didn't step on the court tonight, but I know, speaking to her a little bit later after the game, that she'll be ready to go as they take on Kansas over in Kansas City. It's the very city they'll be heading to. But
was that an injury or a coach's decision? What was the
coach's decision? So that she didn't play, but she did suit up for that game. So, but yeah, so let's. I guess it was pretty close right throughout. TCU got out with some big 3-pointers that got them back into it. West Virginia started really well. They were 6-0 in front, and then they sort of, go for the motions really, because it just felt that TCU did that game, but knew that West Virginia's can hit a net spell and just go, and that's what they did in the last quarter. TCU led as much as 7 points in going into the last quarter, and West Virginia, as the record shows, undefeated. They put the pedal down. Of course, there was a lot of 3-pointers in there. Katrina Paddy, in particular, shot three 3-pointers in that game. Actually, we all thought she actually shot more than 3-pointers in that game, but they were all deadly because at the end of the game, those 3-pointers were the difference. And the free throw shooting weren't great for TCU, ranked number 4 at the free throw line throughout the preseason. But the most interesting thing that came out of that game, listening to the press conferences from both coaches, it was interesting to hear from West Virginia's coach. And he actually said that tonight was actually the time that West Virginia has conceded more than 8 points a game throughout his coaching career, which is about 4 or 5 years at West Virginia. So it's astounding that all the teams in the Big 12 can't get to 80 points or more, but TCU did it on opening night.
Wow. So a hectic game and quite intense from all. I was watching it on the Twitter feed and on Facebook, and every couple of minutes it was neck and neck until probably it looked to be the last 4 minutes when they got out to eventually a 9-point gap, isn't it?
Yeah, so it was about a 9-11 point gap. And as I said, Katrina Paddy really broke the game open, really, herself. And she shot 3 of 6 from 3-point range, 4 at the line, 5 of 8 from the fielder. And, of course, she scored 17 points. But no one could stop Naomi Davenport. She had 32 points, 9 rebounds. Could have easily got a double-double. She shot an incredible 54% from the field in that game. So no one could really stop Naomi Davenport throughout the whole game for TC, and that was always going to be a problem going down the stretch in particular. And for TC, it was 21 points for Amber Rez and Jordan Moore with 15 points for TC. But I must say, if you had to actually pick a winner, and obviously West Virginia won the game, but the happier team to come out of it was actually TCU for the fact that they kept the best team in the competition, the reigning champs in Big 12, to 87 points and got within 5 points of them, which is they are the only team to do so in the 4 seasons, because they actually got 3 points last time the two teams were there at West Virginia. So don't be surprised if TCU can start going up the ladder and hopefully make the Big 12 conference plus, which is something they really look forward to.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting also catching up with all the other results from around the country where the Australian girls are playing and the guys as well. They'll start to filter out over this next couple of days as all the colleges complete their first round of their conference season as well. So we'll next time we catch up, which is going to be in a couple of days, it won't be tomorrow because of your commitments and also the commitments that we have here. So it'll be in probably Saturday your time, Sunday my time.
New Eve.
Sorry?
Your time.
Yeah, so we'll sort of try and catch up there, and of course you'll be in Nashville at that point of time, having country music yourself to sleep, but that's all right. So that's good. So we'll catch up on all of those things there. So we had a quick look inside the stadium at the Schollmaier Arena in Fort Worth, but how was the presentation of the game? Was there anything that sort of stood out to you along the way?
I guess something really stood out, even though obviously there weren't, as you can probably see, there weren't many people there for the fact that most of the students are on holidays at the moment. They don't come back to mid-January, but also they actually got a football game. The men's football team's actually on. So most of the supporters that would be at the game tonight are at the football in San Antonio at the moment. And I'll just give you an update of that score now because I'm actually watching on TV here at the moment. Stanford 37 leads TCU 36 in the last quarter in San Antonio because that is the Alamo Bowl. Of course, they're in San Antonio. But, of course, tomorrow over here in Dallas is the Cotton Bowl. But one thing, the presentation-wise, and something that really impressed me, they don't have, is bands. They actually have a full orchestra band that they sit in one end, and that is definitely an experience and a half just to hear that. And it's mainly around pretty much all high school kids, actually. So who was at the game tonight. So, because obviously the others are Antonio, but it's definitely an experience to be part of.
And as a press member, because you were treated as press, and I noticed that you were actually seated down on the press area as well, which gave you ringside court seats as well.
Yeah, that was amazing to sit down on courtside and see it all unfold close up, which is something not many press people would have an opportunity to do, unless you're a local radio, part of the opposition or part of the home team or TV network. So it's experience that I'll treasure. But also one thing, and I'm saying this to all the media people back in Melbourne, the information they give you is so much what they give you back home. This, I'm going to show it to you. So this is the home team. TC, you get one of these books at every home game, the home game that you go to. So in this case, TCU, and they gave me one of those. It's pretty much all the information that you need for the season on that team in particular. Now, also one thing that rarely happens here that they do, they actually have the opposition, and this is West Virginia's. So that's the opposition one tonight. It's like a book. It's literally a book of everything to do with that school, the team, the coaches, everything, a whole prom, the history of the school and all that. That it's one of the most amazing things to look at. And you get so much information out of that, as well as game notes. They actually provide you with game notes as well. So they do one for the conference, which is right there. So that's the conference one for the whole year. Pack of everything. I'll also give you a summary of all the teams, detail of it, as well as if you don't want to go by the stats, you want to keep a score of yourself, especially if you're doing radio. They even give you a score sheet of all the names for every team. Of the game itself, so TCU and West Virginia, except for West Virginia didn't provide any. And then you get a game notes on both teams. So that's West Virginia's one, right there, if you can see it. And then the other one is the home team with all the details of every single player in that particular team. So there's so much information. There's no way that people can, bluff it, really, because they give you so much stuff.
Well, you're certainly going to have trouble getting that all that back to Australia with your weight restrictions and so on. But no, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. The game day notes you can often find on the college websites as well. They're often put up there as well. But those the full booklets and backgrounders and so on, you would have to be there to get them, I would assume. I haven't seen them
Correct.
around the place. But yeah, it would certainly be useful to have all of that sort of background information for the various clubs here at the different levels. Obviously, it wouldn't perhaps be quite as large, but it's the sort of stuff that perhaps the parent bodies in each league could look at collating at the beginning of each season. It'd be a really handy thing. And if we're trying to raise the profile, if we're trying to get media to come along, it's the usual story of don't make them do all the work themselves. The more you can actually do their work for them, the more likely they are to put a story together for you. So I'd encourage the various leagues to look at that, and who knows, maybe we can kickstart something into the future. Talking about leagues, no WNBL games last night. They all kick off tonight, so the next 3 days are going to be quite busy. Sorry about that. I did accidentally put my notes up on the screen, but we did have an NBL game. Hawks, Illawarra Hawks came up over the Cairns Taipans in a crack of a game from all reports.
Yeah, it was a great game, wasn't it? And I think that pretty much ended Cairns Taipan season, because they've played 2 more games than everyone else in the competition. So they're currently 8-10. The Cairns Taipans. Adelaide at 8-8. They're currently in fourth, and the Illawarra now back in the hunt at 7-9. So it'd be interesting to see how all the season pans out. Of course, tonight it's the Adelaide 36ers and the New Zealand Breakers. They're at the Titanium Security Arena there. But I guess looking at last night's games in particular, it was Congo with 24 points for the Illawarra Hawks, and Clark was 16 in that game. And it's interesting to note that Oscar Foreman didn't really play his great game. He only had 11 points for Illawarra Hawks, but they still got the job done.
And that's his 500th game as well. So the irony of that was that his 500th NBL game was supposed to be the previous game, but he injured himself, pulled a muscle in warm-up. It looks like you've frozen there. Oh, no, you're back. Well, so, yeah, he injured himself in warm-up. So the Cairns game, last night's game, was his actual 500th. So still, he got over 10. You certainly won't be, and the win, so he won't be upset about all of that.
That's right, and he's one of the best. He's a real stalwart with Illawarra, isn't he? He's almost the heart and soul of the Illawarra/Wollongong Hawks.
Yeah, well, he started his career off with the 36ers, moved from there over to New Zealand, and then he's established himself as one of the core of the Hawks over under Gordy McLeod and now obviously Rob Beveridge. So it's been a pretty good innings from him, and hopefully he can go around for at least one or two more.
That's right, and I guess and hopefully they can still make the finals. So, but of course they rely on them winning this week against Brisbane. They still got to play Brisbane this weekend at home, and then they hope that Adelaide lose to New Zealand, which will be played tonight at the Titanium Arena. Which, considering what injuries they have, they most likely probably lose that game tonight.
And in the WNBL, any predictions there? We'll do it very quickly because you've got to get some sleep.
I don't think I will, to be honest. I don't think I'll get some sleep, to be honest. Adelaide will take. I think the match of the round and the one I'm going to tip is actually Sydney Uni and Townsville. Tough game. I think Sydney will get the win. Only because it's at home at Baden Stadium. And the other one, don't be surprised if the Capitals can go Lynx there in Canberra. But even though Perth will get the win, but don't be surprised if the Cats can get over the line because that's their last game of the season. So in Perth, they've got a horror run, haven't they?
They certainly do. Certainly do. Well, so Nashville tomorrow morning. You're leaving at 5:50 your time. It's just after 11 there now, I understand.
Correct.
And from there, what's your agenda?
So as soon as I get to Nashville, pretty much sleep. As soon as I get there for most of the day, and then pretty much I'll do a bit of country music touring, hopefully. Get to see the Home Country Music Museum. I'm going to see an NHL game if I have the chance to, of course. They'll be on the next day between the Predators and the Minnesota Wild. And, of course, the next day is actually the big one, the New Year's Eve game between the Tennessee Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is going to be a big game, especially in the AFC conference, where Tennessee, all they have to do is win and they make the playoffs. If they lose, they rely on two other teams to lose on the same night.
And from there, off to New York.
Correct, which I've just looked at the weather for New York, and I don't know if I'm even going to make it to New York because I was told by one of the taxi drivers here in Dallas that if New York gets on a snowstorm, good luck getting out of New York, let alone getting into New York. So I'm a bit worried about getting out of New York.
Yeah, that's good news for the McKinnon Cougars then, who are theoretically up around that part of the world at the same time as you are expecting to be there as well.
Correct. But I guess, Andrew, most importantly, I've got to try and get out of New York, um, so I can somehow get to not miss my flight in LA. So
All right.
when on my way back.
Okay then. Well, we'll leave you to get 40 winks and hopefully make your flight, and we'll catch up with you in a couple of days. So thank you for listening in, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you in a couple of days' time.